Barcelona is completely changing their strategy to secure the signing of Julian Alvarez. Your incredible legacy will be forever engraved. The president of the Argentine Football Association comforts Lionel Messi with an incredibly emotional message. Pep Guardiola made a highly surprising comment following the passing of Messi's father. Be sure to share your thoughts down below. It is quite possible that Lionel Messi will participate in the 2030 World Cup. If you follow him, keep close for all the latest updates. Barcelona is completely shifting its strategy to secure the signing of the talented Julian Alvarez. The Spanish club Barcelona is aggressively pushing forward with its attempts to sign the clinical Argentine striker Julian Alvarez. And despite the sheer complexity of the deal and the very limited time remaining, yet the Catalan giants are still holding on to a slim hope of resolving the entire situation in their favor. These last few hours have witnessed a massive high-stakes move by the executive board at Barcelona, with Deco, the club's sporting director, holding an urgent meeting with Fernando Hidalgo, the Argentine player's agent, in the Spanish capital of Madrid. This secret meeting has triggered a massive radical shift in the strategy to bring Alvarez to the Camp Nou, helping him fulfill the dream he openly confessed just a short while ago, fueling a brand new plan for Barcelona and Alvarez. According to a report from the Spanish newspaper AS, this star player has decided to completely stop putting public pressure on his club, which he did previously when he openly declared, during the World Cup in the United States, his deep desire to leave and fulfill a dream. A brand new strategy will rely entirely on behind-the-scenes diplomacy and quiet internal dialogue. Julian Alvarez is currently scheduled to return to regular training with his teammates at Atletico Madrid, exactly on the planned date, and he will not be making any public statements to the media. Rather than talking, he is going to wait to have a private, face-to-face meeting with manager Diego Simeone and then with the club hierarchy to repeat his firm demand to leave, making it clear that his only acceptable destination is Barcelona. Facing the incredibly tough stance taken by Diego Simeone and chief executive Miguel Angel Gil Marin against letting the player leave, serious doubts remain about whether this diplomatic route will actually work out. The top directors at Atletico of Madrid will have to carefully evaluate the major risks of holding on to a player who has openly expressed his desire to leave, especially since he will remind them of the promise they made to him earlier, according to his agent, to let him depart if a suitable offer arrived, which could happen with this improved bid coming in from Catalonia. Julian Alvarez believes that the offer from Barcelona represents a very positive step forward for everyone involved, though the board at Atletico Madrid is absolutely not in agreement with that so far. Naturally, this tense internal dialogue between the player and his club is perfectly coinciding with Barcelona preparing some very substantial, attractive improvements to their financial offer. The very first official offer put forward by Barcelona was actually well under 100 million euros. It was later increased to match that exact figure, and the latest inside details now indicate that the Catalan club is preparing a fresh bid of around 120 million euros to finally convince the Atletico Madrid board to sell their star Argentine striker. Your incredible legacy is forever engraved. The president of the AFA comforts Lionel Messi with a highly emotional message. Claudio Tapia, the head of the Argentine Football Association, he published a deeply moving public statement to comfort the historic captain of the national team, Lionel Messi, following the tragic passing of his beloved father, Jorge, this past Saturday, after a very long and exhausting battle with illness. Claudio Tapia shares an incredibly close personal bond with Lionel Messi and has frequently highlighted the legendary forward's monumental place in the long history of Argentine football. Today, on August 8, 2026, Jorge Messi, the father of Lionel Messi, passed away. At just 68 years old, following months of undergoing cancer treatment at a medical clinic in Rosario, Claudio Tapia shared a highly emotional message through both his personal account and the official channels of the AFA, sending his deepest and most heartfelt condolences following the loss of Jorge Messi, the father of the global superstar Lionel Messi. Claudio Tapia shared these words in a touching post signed simply with his initials. Today we must say goodbye to a man who played an absolutely fundamental, decisive role behind the scenes in one of the most incredible stories in the entire history of world football, he added. Writing as the president of the Argentine Football Association, I want to express my deepest gratitude to the late Jorge Messi, not just for gifting the world the greatest football player of all time, but above all else, for raising a humble, respectful human being deeply devoted to others. Claudio Tapia continued. Your legacy will remain forever engraved. This monumental achievement was not just walking beside Lionel on the long road that eventually turned him into a global legend, but rather in always being right by his side, constantly supporting him through every dark hour and guiding him on every single step. He concluded his emotional message. Thank you, Jorge, for guiding Lionel and shaping the incredible character he is today. Thank you for giving the world its greatest player. But most of all, thank you for raising such an incredible human being. May you rest in peace. Meanwhile, Real Madrid quickly stepped forward to join the list of major clubs supporting Argentine star Lionel Messi, taking the initiative to send him their heartfelt condolences following the tragic death of his father, Jorge. The Madrid club declared. Real Madrid Club de Football, along with its president and board of directors, deeply regret the passing of Jorge Messi, the beloved father of Leo Messi. Our club wants to express its absolute deepest, most sincere condolences to Leo, his family, and to all of their loved ones during this time. May he rest in peace. Countless football clubs around the globe have expressed their profound sympathy for Lionel Messi following the devastating loss of his father, who made his very last public appearance back in November of 2025, just before beginning a long, grueling medical treatment that ultimately ended with his tragic passing at the age of 68. Then came a truly surprising emotional response from Pep Guardiola after learning of the death. As Pep Guardiola starts to speak, he sits down at the press conference table, clasps his hands tightly together, and takes a slow, deep breath, showing the massive emotional toll he is carrying. He keeps his head bowed low for a few long seconds before slowly looking up, his first words coming out in a soft, quiet whisper, shaky and filled with genuine, raw grief, entirely disconnected from the usual noise of tactics, football, and competition. Hello, everyone. I know perfectly well that you came here today looking for answers about my future in football and to ask about endless tactical plans. But honestly, I stand before you today completely unable to talk about anything that has to do with what happens on the pitch. Believe me, there is no plan in this world, and no football match, no matter how massive it seems, that can compare to even a single grain of sand next to the tragic news we all received today. The news that Jorge Messi has passed away, the devastating reality that Leo has lost his father. When I first heard the news, it felt as though time had suddenly ground to a halt. Because when you deal with a figure as monumental as Jorge Messi, you are not just talking about some ordinary man who came and went from this life. No, you are talking about the deepest, most foundational roots of the absolute greatest success story in the history of soccer. I am standing here today not as a former manager who had the immense privilege of coaching Lionel, nor as an opponent on the touchline, but simply as a human being, a person who saw firsthand, with absolute clarity, just how much the word family truly meant in the life of this extraordinary athlete. Let us speak with absolute honesty and candor. We as managers spend countless long nights trying to convince ourselves that we actually shape the careers of our players. We like to imagine that our tactical ideas create the superstars, and that our training ground instructions are what win the trophies. But during all my years working alongside Leo at Barcelona, I was always acutely aware of one solid, undeniable truth. A manager can alter the way a team plays, but a father is the ultimate guardian of the soul and of who we are. I still remember the small details of those beautiful, incredibly intense years that we all shared together. Jorge was never simply some cold, detached corporate agent who sat behind desks just to manage contracts and haggle over numbers and financial gains. He was never, ever like that. He served as the real living shield that protected Leo from the harshness of the outside world, shielding him from the intense pressures of early fame that often break the strongest minds, and from the storms that hit a young boy who left his homeland and family early to live in a foreign city called Barcelona. When Leo first arrived in Spain as a tiny, frightened kid with an incredibly fragile frame, possessing a talent far bigger than his age or physical size, Jorge was right there with him. He was the safe harbor Leo ran to whenever the heavy weight of life and the painful distance from home grew too intense. Jorge was that unbreakable wall where every single doubt and every looming obstacle crashed and shattered into pieces. I remember with fondness how he used to watch our training sessions, standing silently and calmly at a distance, tracking every single drill with the loving eyes of a dedicated father, watching a piece of his own heart take its very first steps toward legend, and with the gaze of a fierce guardian who worried about him facing the rough road ahead and the cold, critical eyes of the public. If it had not been for Jorge's absolute, relentless, and unwavering faith in his young son's future, and if he had not made those incredibly brave decisions and massive personal sacrifices when Leo was just a kid struggling through medical and physical hurdles, we would never ever have witnessed the immortal legendary player we celebrate today as Lionel Messi. Jorge is the silent architect and the true creator behind every single second of magic that football pitches worldwide have witnessed for 2 full decades. And today, when I look at Leo and try to comprehend the overwhelming void and profound sorrow he must be feeling right now, it breaks my heart and shakes me to my core, because I know firsthand how incredibly sacred the bond was between that father and his father and son, a beautiful bond that transcends blood, reaching a deep spiritual connection. Leo never saw Jorge as just a father guiding him along his path. Instead, he was an unerring compass, his closest friend to turn to when the entire world went dark, and the single person on earth who would tell him the absolute naked truth, no matter how hard or incredibly painful it was to hear. And over these past few years, we all watched as Jorge's health began to slowly fade, and we could see it taking a quiet toll on Leo, even during his absolute happiest moments of triumph, like that historic crowning glory at the World Cup. There was a certain shadow in his eyes, a look of intense worry and hidden, unspoken dread. Throughout that time, Leo carried an incredibly heavy emotional and mental burden, knowing deep in his soul that his greatest champion, the steady pillar of his life, was slowly being taken away by a cruel illness. Now, the single most bitter day has come, the tragic moment that every loving son on this earth fears in his heart. The profound grief Leo feels today is not just the typical athletic sadness of losing a championship final, nor is it the quiet sorrow of a legend saying goodbye to the pitch, while the adoring crowd applauds him one last time. This is the raw heartbreak of a genuine human being who has lost a foundational part of his roots and identity. Today, when Leo looks back across any soccer field or down any quiet corner of his incredible life, he will not find that face, the face he always looked for first after scoring a goal, as if sending a silent message back that said, "I am right here, my son, you did it again." I want to say this to everyone, to all the soccer fans, and to anyone who has ever stood in complete awe of what Lionel Messi has accomplished throughout his career. Always remember, before you look at the brilliant goals and historic trophies, that behind this human marvel stood an incredible man who believed in the impossible when nobody else did. Today, Leo is facing the most painful, difficult personal trial of his entire life. Championship titles will always come and go, and records were only meant to be broken eventually. But losing a father leaves a total, permanent void, a quiet emptiness that no amount of soccer success or professional glory can ever hope to fill. From right here, from my own heart, I send all my love, my deepest, most sincere empathy, and all of my thoughts and prayers to Leo and his entire family during this incredibly dark, painful hour. Please know, Leo, that millions of people around the globe share this heavy grief with you, and the beautiful spirit your father planted in you will guide your steps forever, wherever you go. Rest in peace, Jorge. You finished your mission on this earth beautifully, leaving behind an extraordinary human being who changed the course of history and brought immense joy to the hearts of millions. Thank you for everything you gave us.